Hello YouTube, welcome back, Buddy Fight News Corner. I haven't been able to make videos for a while, for over a week, so I decided to do another deck profile until I can manage to scrounge up some people to actually either do fight videos or when Area finally decides it wants to start working again, so I can make videos on that. Well, anyway, back to the deck profile. This is Skull Warriors. The buddy's Demon Kid. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. I'm horrible with that. When it's called from the drop zone, you put the top card of your deck into the gauge. It's a really good card, really good for Skull Warriors. Did get a reprint in the newest set, Set 2, H2, so easier to get. The 6k power makes it easier to clear things, which the deck does have a problem with, getting over big walls. And then Size Zero's Countdown. I went over this before. Countdown's a good card. Run Countdown. Unless you're playing something like Dragon Knights, run Countdown. There's no reason not to run Countdown. 3 Rampage. I, again, am not going to even attempt this name. This is... no. It's a 1/2/1 Size 0 Skull Warrior. It's also 100 Demon, so it's going to be put in 100 Demons when we finish that. It's good because it's 2 crit and allows you to do OTK formations and push for lots and lots of damage. But the 1k power and 1k defense really hurts it. The good thing about it is because it's Skull Warrior, you can revive it with any of the set spells. So the 2 crit is amazing and really, really effective when dealing with open center decks that aren't Raging Spirits, because that deck is... don't like that deck. Anyway, Strength Summoner, I don't know, I'm not going to try. Giants, Great Strength, come forth. When it enters the field, all of your Skull Warriors get plus 2,000 power. Really helps in helping you beat over those walls that you couldn't normally beat over without link attacking. Like, it turns your Size 0 into 3k power, which hits a lot of the standard ride targets for Hero World. It also turns Demon Kid into an 8k, which clears a lot of Size 3s. And it also makes itself a 5k, so it becomes a 5/1/1. So, not terrible. It's pretty good. Run another one of, because you just revive it. 3 Lightning Speed Suki Usagi. I can pronounce that one. It's a 1/2/1. When you're attacked, pay a gauge, call it to the center, redirect the attack to it. So it's essentially a Mock Raver, but instead of 4k defense, it's got 2 crit. Same issue with the Size 0. Low power, but you don't really want to use it for the power or defense. You want to use it as essentially a shield that you can revive or call if you need to. So it's a really good card, but you need to determine if you're going to use it or not, because if you're not, then just call it. Because it's a 2 crit monster, you don't feel bad about calling it like you do Mock Raver. I swear, every time someone calls that, they cry a little on the inside, because it's, what are they going to do? It's 1 crit. This, on the other hand, is 2 crit and can actually deal damage. And then the star of almost everything. Evil in Heart Yamagitsune. Yamagitsune is 1 gauge for 5/2/1. So, meh for stat-wise. And then, to Darkness, when a Skull Warrior deals damage to your opponent, you destroy it and you draw a card. That is really good because it puts all of your Skull Warriors make pressure columns, so they have to either block them or either just kill them. Like, this guy is almost always targeted for counter destruction, but he would also be the buddy, but we don't have a 5th copy, so we're not going to make that our buddy. And yeah. And then the 4 Demon Kid. The 6/2/1, really, really good for clearing centers, beating over monsters in general. Becomes an 8 with the other size 1. The gauge that it provides when you call it is really helpful in being able to call a full field with 3 different set spells, and also maintaining being able to use the other spells in the deck. And then for size 2s, one Thunderclap, I can't pronounce that either, is 621, so it's, or 623, so, excuse me, is essentially Demon Kid but with extra defense, except you don't really call this from your hand, you call this from the drop while you have Yamagitsune on the field, because Yamagitsune's skill activates when he burns for 1. So when he enters the field, you ping your opponent for 1. So you can send him to the drop zone with Yamagitsune and draw a card. Really good. So essentially you burn 1 of your opponent's life and draw a card. And then Tempest Garo? I have no idea. 3/2/5, so the attack is pretty bad. But then you can pay a gauge, and it gains plus 3k power and double attack. The double attack makes it so you can deal the 10 damage. This is how you do most of your OTKs, and you only need to run 2 because of the set spell that lets you bring them back. And then after you pay the gauge, it dies at the end of the turn, with pretty much all the other Skull Warriors. And then Cat Shadow Aohime, 5/2/4. When its call cost is pay 1 life, when it enters the field, discard a card from your hand, search your deck for Demon with a set. So pretty much all of your set spells that revive more cards. Two Noble Ninja Momochitamba, I think I said that right. It's a 7/2/6, call cost of 2 gauge. When it enters the field, you gain 1 life and has double attack. This is really good for offsetting a lot of the health costs that the deck has, because the deck does have a lot of health costs. You will probably ping yourself for about 3 to 5 damage every game, just by playing the deck, not even with your opponent attacking you. And for spells, well, you have 2 of the Grimoire clone. The Grimoire is really good because you could just play everything, set all of your set spells, and then once you ping yourself to 5, you play the Grimoire and you draw 3. It's a really good card, helps you come back when they nuke your board or whatever. You also can just play that for a really big burst of power plays and just be able to call things and do of all the shields you need to live. And then 2 Sakura Fubuki. Pay 2 life to nullify a spell. One of the better spell nullifiers in the game, but because the deck doesn't have any life gain besides Momochitamba, using it is... you want to use it sparingly. You really only want to use it for game or when you know your opponent has to use that spell to do anything on their turn. Now for the set spells. Odd Ritual, Skull Festival, sorry. You can pay a life, call a size 2 or less Skull Warrior from your drop zone but paying its call cost. Or without paying its call cost, sorry. So you use this. So what you do is when you call this, you search out this one. And then next turn, you use this. And then you play this. And then you search out the other set spell. So, really good. It combos really well with the deck. Allows you to play the 2 Tempest Garo, the 1 Thunderclap, and be able to see them consistently, and actually being able to use them effectively, since before you kind of just had to run a size 1 spam deck. Then 3 of Return to the Underworld. Pay a gauge, call a size 1 or less without paying its call cost. Really good. Allows you to fill your field up really quickly with Odd Festival. Between this and Odd Festival, there's 5 set spells that revive cards. You really only need 1, and then you just keep bringing monsters back every turn. And when you do that, your opponent really just has to kill you before you kill them. 3 Hades Fall. Hades Fall is really good for this deck because it allows you to set up for your drop zone. So you can either put 0, 1, and 2 and then call them with one of the set spells, or if you really have to, you put the size 3 in there and you just put the size 3 in there and it does really nothing for you. But Hades Fall is really good because it makes your opponent want to play around it. Your opponent has to guess what did he put under there. Like if your opponent is playing something like Star Dragon World, you can either put a 2 for their size 2s, or a 1 for all of their dragon arms. So it makes them wary of, do I want to call this Jack first, or do I want to call the dragon arms first? To make sure that one isn't the other. And then for the nulls, you got 4 Art of Body Replacement. When it's not a link attack, you nullify it. It's good because you can use this with a closed center, which is what this deck does a lot. It's pretty much what you need to play now, this closed center. Because even with all of the penetrate, not every main decks penetrate, so it's really good to help you sustain yourself when all of the really, really heavy rush decks are coming at you. And then for Obleri Genbu. Obleri Genbu is a really good card. It's essentially a Battle of the Aura Circle. This was a promo, so it was really hard to get, but it got reprinted in the set. We have the promo versions, but they're not hollow. This makes me sad. But, you won't really be using this unless they kill your center, which, I mean, they usually do, but, you still want to run as many nullifies as possible in your deck. And then for weapons, 2 of the Tempest Swords is a 3-1 that costs a life, and you can attack while there's a monster in your center. It is a really good card, but it's not as good as the other one, the sword that came in the 100 Demons trial deck. While this one does only cost 1 life, it only has 1 crit, so it's more or less just sitting there for either ping damage or actually killing something. But the good weapon, I have no idea how to pronounce this other than Demon Blade. I am not going to try to pronounce it. All I know is good card is good. 3/2, so standard vanilla stats. Pay 1 gauge and pay a life, and it can attack while you have a monster in the center. With this, you essentially add an extra 2 damage to your 6 that you would normally have by having 3 monsters on board, since pretty much everything in the deck is 2 crit. So, with this, you can go from having only 6 damage to 8, 4 to 5 to 6, not 5, 5 to 7, things like that. It adds a lot of damage to the deck. It really helps in it also helps clearing boards, because lots of things only have 3k defense or less now. Well, this deck does have lots of trouble with walls, because I don't run Penetrate in the main deck. I don't have the side deck with me right now, but more or less you want to run Gepi Kagiri and the size 1 Penetrate, Kemosae, I think, to clear the center and penetrate through the center without actually having to beat over the center. Because once your opponent starts walling, this deck just kind of falls apart. You can call all the monsters every day, but if you can't get over the wall and deal damage, you're just going to kill yourself. Well, if Area ever starts working again, I will be trying to make videos on Area. Whenever I can get people together, I will be doing fights. It's really all I can do. If I could, I might use trade cards online, but I really don't want to, because it's pretty bad. But anyway, bye. I will try to make more videos. This one was a little late, so I'm probably just going to do 1 a week for now, until I start getting the hang of these making video things. So, alright, bye.